baddies, and more specifically, my bookish baddies. More specifically, my bookish baddies that like spooky season. So when I'm recording this video, it's October, but who knows when you're watching this. You could be watching this 5 years from now because longevity. But anyways, today I am here with a video I'm pretty excited about. So one of my reading goals is to read through all of Stephen King's books, because as you guys know, he is like the king of horror fiction, and he has so many books. I think definitely past 60. It might be 90. Maybe I'm getting my 6s and my 9s mixed up, but anyways, he has a lot of books. He's been writing for many decades, and I happen to love spooky stuff, including spooky season, hence the shirt. You know the vibes. But anyways, so one of my life goals is to just read all of his books. So I've just been slowly working my way through for the past few years. And so at this point, I have read a couple of them. And so I want to do a quick little rating of what I've read. And also get your thoughts in the comments about what you think I should read next if you are a Stephen King fan. So let's get into it. So we're going to work our way from the bottom to the top, meaning from what I've read, what I liked least so far, and then work our way up to what I like the most. Okay, so let's get started. So I just finished this book actually like 3 days ago. Salems Lot. Now I know this is a really popular one. This is Stephen King's second book he ever wrote. I want to say it was released in the 70s. It's a nice little vampire vibe. I'm not gonna say I didn't like it, because I did. It was enjoyable. It's a hefty one. It's 600 plus pages. I enjoyed it. It just was not my type of horror. So there were some pieces where I was like, okay, I could have done without this. But all in all, this was a solid read. Now I will say I watched the movie. Not a fan. Not a fan. Now, and it was just the discrepancies for me that made me not a fan of the movie. So like in the book, the vampire is like, oh my goodness, he's so like attractive that like you can't like avoid staring into his eyes, and that's how he gets you. And in the movie, that vampire was ugliest thing I ever seen. He was worse than Pennywise. So I would give this a 6 out of 10. Like, it's not a fail. It's not a 0 out of 10. It's not even a 2 out of 10. But it definitely was not like a favorite. I probably won't read it again. I'll say that much. So let me read to y'all a few of my favorite quotes from Salem's Lot. So I enjoyed this because it made me laugh, and I'm going to tell you why. There were others in the town who were either sleeping or waking untouched. So they're talking about like the vampires are running rampant, but there are some people who don't know what's going on. Most of the untouched were single people without relatives or close friends in the town. Many of them were unaware that anything had been happening. And I put in the margins, singleness +1. So as your resident single girl, I always talk about the benefits of singleness. And yeah, not being touched by a vampire, not getting eaten up by the vampire, I say it's a benefit. They said they was unaware. They didn't even know what was going on. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. Another quote that I really enjoyed from this book: some people go crazy very quietly. They go crazy inside. And I was just like, yeah, accurate. Like, sometimes it's not an outward display of insanity slowly taking hold. Sometimes it's quiet, but it's happening. So I had quite a few quotes. Like, there's some good writing in here. I mean, Stephen King's an amazing writer, so there's some good writing in here. But I just wanted to share a couple of my favorites with you. All right, on to the next. So next on my list is Carrie, which is his first book. I enjoy Carrie. I love the Carrie like movies. I've seen all the versions of them. I enjoy Carrie. And the book was pretty good. It just wasn't like my favorite. So I think one thing that was very cool about it, but that also maybe was something that threw me off a little bit, is that there are a lot of like news breaks in here. So let me see if I can just find one quickly. Okay, so this is at the very beginning, actually. So throughout the book, it'll have these moments where it's like, oh, this is from the local newspaper. But it's like several of them throughout the book. And I don't know, something about those breaks just really didn't work for me personally. But I think the book itself was good. And I like to see the variation from the movie to this, because I've seen all the movies. And I'm like, oh, the book had a little bit different. It was a little different in some ways. And also, the book was more sinister. Like, there were some pieces in the book where I was like, oh, it's kind of making my skin crawl a bit. That's what y'all doing? Oh, so I like this one. I would probably give this a 7 out of 10. So it's not top of my list, but it was definitely a worthy read. Okay. Next up, The Green Mile. I really enjoyed The Green Mile. I had never seen the movie before reading the book. I've also always heard great things about the movie. I really enjoyed this. It was very different from what you expect from Stephen King. I actually did not know that The Green Mile was a Stephen King book for a long time. I probably learned that a little over a year ago or so. But I really enjoyed The Green Mile. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, beautifully written. Let's see if I can share a fave quote or two. Okay, so this is a good one. I just opened right up to where I was tabbed at. He was caressing the night, rubbing his senses across it the way a man might rub his face across the swells and concavities of a woman's breast. I just like that, like, parallel. Like, he was caressing the night. Period. I like that. Time here is like a weak acid that erases first memory and then the desire to go on living. Like, just some excellent writing in this book. And of course, it's like heartbreaking. Of course, it's like touching. It has that element of magic in it. Like, absolutely amazing. So I would definitely give this like probably, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this one. Okay. The Institute. I really enjoyed this too. This is probably neck and neck with The Green Mile. So this is a newer Stephen King book. It has some beautiful elements of magic. It really approaches childhood in a way that I think Stephen King is really, really good at. Why do I keep saying I'm sorry, y'all. Anyways, this was really good. And this was my second Stephen King book that I read, and I found great enjoyment in it. So the character development was amazing. The characters themselves were just bright and sparkling. It was great. Let's see if I got a quote or two to share. Oh, this was a cute one. Sometimes a hug was telepathy. And so because there's that element of magic and telepathy or telepathy in the book, that was really like, it tied it all up. Let's see. This I thought was just really witty. In June, Luke would have hated her for this, but now it was July and he was much older. And I feel like that is how we age when we're children. Like, you age so rapidly that like you're literally changing all the time. And I think that's something that we as adults should tap into. Like, we should always be evolving. Who I was yesterday is nothing compared to who I am today. And so I really, really just love that sentiment. So Institute, 8.5 out of 10. All right, let's get into the heavy hitters. The Shining. 10 out of 10. Loved it. I love The Shining movie. It is one of my all-time favorites. Love, 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 love the movie. In the book somehow was even better. This book was horrifying. Like, it's hard for me to find a book that makes me actually feel a little scared, like a book, because it's a slow burn. I can close it if it get to be much. This book, it made me a little nervous. It made me a little nervous, I can't lie. And I loved the variations from the movie. They were really well done. I can see why they did the movie the way they did it, and I can see why the book is also still so good. So necessary variations for the movie, and somehow the book still stands as amazing on its own. It was so good. I really enjoyed this. Let's see if I have a quote or two I can share with you. So they're talking about Danny, who's the child in this book. I think he's 6 years old. And this is the doctor talking. Okay, so they say, Danny is an intelligent, imaginative, perceptive boy. I don't believe he would have been as upset by your marital problems as you believed. Small children are great acceptors. They don't understand shame or the need to hide things. And that just made me think, like, again, as adults, we have to get back to that. We have to become great acceptors. Now, not acceptors of bullshit, but great acceptors of life. The things that come and go, like really just being able to say, okay, even if I don't agree with it, I can accept it, that it is what it is, and I can move forward with my life. So I thought that was great, and not understanding shame or the need to hide things. So I can get into a whole conversation about shame versus guilt, and maybe someday I will, but I thought that was really phenomenal, and really just phenomenal insight into that inner childhood that we all have, and how important it feels to get back to that, because that's purity. Children are so much more wise than we give them credit for. They're really doing it right. Anyways, on to the next, and this is the final of the novels, and then I have one little aside. The Stand. So this is Stephen King's, I believe this is his very longest book. It's called The Stand, and this is the first book of his that I read. So I tackled the biggest one first. Mark Twain says something about like eating the frog in the morning or something like that. Eat a live frog and frog in the morning, meaning get the hardest thing out the way first, which I did here. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. When I first started reading this book, I was like, how am I going to finish this? This is too long. It is 1,149 pages. It's really long. But when I tell you this is top tier character development, this is top tier character development. And it really makes you think a lot about, so I read this during the pandemic, and I was like, this is eerily similar to the pandemic. And so to learn that he wrote this in, I think, like the 70s or the 80s, I was like, that's kind of scary. It's kind of scary, but absolutely phenomenal. I can't even speak enough about it. Just read it. You just have to read it. It has spiritual elements. It has that familiarity to like the pandemic and what we went through there, quarantine and whatnot. It has a little bit of romance in there. It has duality of humans. I mean, a phenomenal book. Could not recommend enough. And even with it being this long, I'm probably going to read this one again. And then there's a mini series. I think it's right now available on Paramount Plus. And the mini series was phenomenally done. And it has Whoopi Goldberg, and she can't do any wrong to me. So 10 out of 10. My favorite Stephen King so far. Okay. And the other Stephen King that I read is his memoir on writing. Clearly, I love it. Look at the tabs. Clearly, I love it. 10 out of 10 here. I learned so much. I took so many gems from this as a writer and an inspiring novelist. Like this, supreme reading for writers. Highly, highly, highly recommend. So that is what I have read so far of Stephen King. So if you have read any of these, comment and let me know. And more than anything, if you are a Stephen King reader, let me know in the comments what you think I should read next. I'm thinking Misery or It, but I'm open to recommendations and suggestions. I will come back with another Stephen King review video once I've finished up another 4 or 5 books, and I will talk to y'all soon. All right, bye.